Today we have a very special guest joining us. Born in Mexico and raised in California from the age of 3, Beatriz Cazares is currently representing her native country as Miss Mexico in the Queen of the Universe pageant. Beatriz has had a strong passion for modeling since the age of 12. However, due to financial circumstances, Beatriz put her dreams on hold to focus on school and financial stability. While pursuing a business degree at Mount San Antonio College and waitressing to make ends meet, Beatriz was asked to walk the runway in a bridal convention by a close friend who recognized her raw beauty and modeling potential. Now, when she's not on the runway or posing for the camera, Beatriz can be found reading and spending time with her family. Looking to the future, Beatriz hopes to travel the world, volunteering for charities, speaking motivationally, becoming a role model to and inspiring young women with heart to achieve aspirations, and ultimately starting her own fashion-oriented business. Now, without further ado, please give a warm welcome to former Mt.SAC student and current Miss Mexico, Beatriz Cazares.
Good afternoon, guys. Before anything, I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day to come and watch me speak. And I want to thank Ideas for giving me the honor to come out here and speak on behalf of a lot of undocumented students. So, obviously you know my name, Beatriz, and my title is Miss Mexico, and before that, I was brought up as Beatriz Cazares, as most of you probably know. It sometimes takes up to 2 or 3 lines to fill up a sheet. When they say fill out your name and last name, I'm just like, 3 lines. They say, well, you're a typical Mexican. I'm like, yeah. So I want to ask you guys a question. I don't know if you guys can actually relate to this, but I'm sure that you can. That sometimes you're invited to a party, not even necessarily a party, but just being invited to a certain event and not being feeling like you belong there, or just anywhere in general. And I can tell you that growing up, that's literally how I felt. I always felt like I would never fit in. I'm like, I'm this girl who's very active, I love sports, and it seemed like everybody that I befriended didn't really like sports. They just wanted to play and just go on and do things. But I always felt different, and I'm sure many of you can relate. And just say, I'm going to discuss today with you guys a little bit of my background, who I am growing up. I'm also going to share with you guys a little bit as an undocumented student and my experience here in Mt.SAC. My pageant experience, and I will also be sharing with you guys my current status right now, what I'm doing, and share with you guys a little bit about my goals. So, but before I begin, I actually want to tell you that that I'm going to share with you guys is only my experience, and that only. You can take or leave whatever you wish from it. I only intend to inspire, but most importantly, I'm here because I want to share my story. I'm not here to change anybody's mind, just share my story. So thank you guys for listening. I want to share a quote by Maya Angelou. As many of you know, she passed away yesterday. And to me, she was a wonderful woman, a role model to a lot of women. And she said, if you teach, you have to live your teaching. She said, but most importantly, just let them know I am doing my best to live with what I teach. And I'm telling you guys that right now. So, who is Beatriz? I come from Mexico. I was 3 years old when I was brought here unwillingly. My mother came here when I was 2 years old. She left my sisters and I back in Mexico, and she decided that she was going to come find work and then she was going to go back and, continue with our lives. Unfortunately, fortunately, that didn't happen. She met my stepfather and she decided to stay here. So my grandparents, they were a little upset, but they said, okay, they're your daughters, take them with you. So I came to the United States May 16, so it's 1990. That was when I came here. I was very active child, what they would call now consider ADD. I couldn't sit still. But again, I felt different. I never could fit in. I always was, I wasn't a loner, but I spent a lot of time alone, climbing trees, rollerblading, doing the typical child. But I always, like I said, I always knew there was something more. And I never wanted to settle for less. Never easily influenced. I don't know why. At the age of 12, I actually realized that I had a dream. And I used to watch a lot of models, a lot of magazines, and I thought, well, I want to be on the cover of a magazine one day. And I started to learn to pose. And I came to my mother and I said, you know what, Mom, I want to be a movie star. I want to be a model. And she said to me, okay, when's the audition? And I said, well, it's next week. So we go to the audition in LA, show up, I do my audition, walk the catwalk, and they say to me, so, well, you know, she's really good. They brought my mom in, and the training was going to cost about $1,000. I knew that my mother was a single parent, and it was really difficult growing up. So we couldn't afford all the luxuries then at the time, which honestly now I'm thankful for. So I would drive back, and long story short, I go to my room and I begin to cry. I cried because I thought, well, I could never live my dream. I could never be a model because I don't have the money. And after that day, I thought, well, there's no such thing as dreams. So I continued to go to school like any kid. I was always the overachiever. Even though my mother couldn't come and take us to school because she had to work, I somehow managed to get myself out of bed, get myself dressed, and go to school every single day. And I actually loved going to school. I didn't miss a day. And I literally have perfect attendance in elementary. So that's one of the things that I'm very proud of. And so as I continued to go to school, I continued to get involved in soccer. I continued to get involved in other activities in school. I moved on to middle school, and I decided to be a part of the talent show. And I remember that day they were holding auditions, and I said, you know what, I want to sing. I'm going to audition, and my talent's going to be singing. So the day of the talent show, I sang a song by Selena. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Selena. Yeah, right? So I said, I'm going to sing for Por Flor. So that day, the day of the event, the talent show, I felt great. I loved it. And soon after, everybody in school would see me and be like, Selena, Selena. I'm like, oh, I'm not Selena, I'm Beatriz. But I was known as Selena ever since. And I enjoyed being in school. I was an honor roll student. And I enjoyed running a lot. That I actually was 6th grade, they picked me as one of the top runners. So I ran the mile, and I placed 9th place, and I was like very bummed out. I was like, man, I gotta do better. I'm gonna aim next year, and I'm gonna, aim for 1st place. Well, they picked me again. They selected me as one of the fast runners for the class. This time I didn't get 1st place, but I got 3rd place. And I was very, very proud. I was never, this whole time you'd think this is a kid, she want to have fun. For me, that was fun. Getting involved in activities, setting goals, doing things that I loved and I enjoyed the most, that's what made me happy. So, I realized, well, I can do whatever I want. And I want to be the first one in my family to graduate from high school. Time goes by, and my sisters, because I have 2 older sisters, as you heard earlier, and they didn't graduate, unfortunately, but they decided to create a family, a beautiful family, and I love my nephews and nieces. And so I did. I went to high school. I, again, got involved in so many activities. I was in dance. I was part of the dance team. I got involved with the soccer team. I was playing varsity for 1 year. I also joined the Chambers Choir. And I didn't realize that I was doing all of these things that I enjoyed that ultimately would become something that I would do bigger in life. I was just doing it because that's what made me happy. And there I go, high school. I'm doing awesome, enjoying my life as a high school student. And I said, I'm going to be the first one to graduate from high school. Which brings me down to my second topic about me not documented and my experience as a college student. Soon after graduating from high school, I then realized that I wanted to go on to university. I said, I'm going to be an amazing dancer. I'm going to go to a university, and that's what I wanted to do. My dream was to move to a university and become a dancer. But soon after I applied for what they call a FAFSA, I was denied. I said, no, sorry, you're not documented. That's when that's when I actually became aware that I wasn't documented. I was like, what is this immigration stuff? You know? You mean I can't go to school because I don't have a green card? And what is this green card? And my mama explained to me later on that, a little bit more information. And of course, as a teenager, all you do is take whatever you can, but you also question a little bit more because you're still not 100% aware of everything. You're just kind of going with the flow. At least I was. But the thing that actually made it very difficult for me after I realized that I did not have papers, what they call papers, but the legal term is undocumented. They don't say immigrants. They don't say illegal. When my grandparents were calling constantly and saying, when are you going to come back? When are you going to come and visit us? And they're only getting older. And forgive me if I get emotional. That has been the toughest part for me. To hear that my grandparents passed away and I couldn't go and say goodbye to them. That was difficult for me. I felt like a bad granddaughter. I felt bad, like what kind of a granddaughter am I? What kind of person am I? But then I had to forgive myself and realize that a lot of it is not my fault. And it's my fault. So I continued to live my life. I decided that I couldn't go to school. I gave up, and I got a job as a waitress, and I worked serving people. Customer service later became one of the things that I enjoyed doing. And as I was working, one of the customers was actually a former friend of mine from high school. We were a part of the track team together. And I saw her, and I said, oh my gosh, we need to catch up. So she gives me her number, and I meet her up for lunch, and I'm like, how are you doing? Things are great. And soon after, I asked her, like, what are you doing? She said, I'm going to school. I'm getting my bachelor's and everything. I said, that's interesting. I said, I can't go to school. And she said, well, why not? I said, well, I don't have papers. And I literally said that to her, I don't have papers. And she said, well, I don't either. I said, well, how the heck are you going to school? And she said, there's a program, there's a form that you can apply so that you don't have to pay international fees. I'm like, there is? And because that's the thing, that when you are undocumented, you're afraid. You don't want to ask because you're afraid, like, they're going to know. They're going to deport me. They're going to, I don't know, you come up with all these ideas in your head and you start to scare yourself. So once she told me, literally the next day, I actually went online and I signed up. I enrolled in for Mt.SAC, and I came in, I filled out my form, I took the test, the placement test like everybody else, and I realized, dear God, I've been out of school for a long time. But, you know, because I continued to read, I actually didn't have to take a reading class. Now, English and math, I could say the same. I had to start from the bottom. Excuse me. So, when I enrolled, I was looking at the book. I'm excited about finding the classes. I'm going to do something with my life now. I feel important because all this time I'm looking at my friends that, you know, had everything going for them. They're going to school, they're almost graduating, they're moving on to big careers, and there I feel like, oh my gosh, I feel left out. What am I doing with my life? I feel like a loser. And I come to Mt.SAC, I read on the article in the book, in the classes, and I find on the bottom it said bridge program. And said if you need these classes, please, you've got to come in at this time and meet at this room. I failed to look at the first come, first serve, by the way. So I came and I'm waiting in line, okay, and being the generous person that I am, I decided to let somebody cut in front of me. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, go ahead. We sit down and they're naming down the classes that we need. And they said, okay, if you need this class, there's only 7 spots left. And I'm looking at the seats right next to me. I'm like, oh my gosh. Luckily, one of the persons that, you know, that was in that row didn't get the class that I needed, so I got the last class. So being generous, you know, it's like, should I continue to do it? But I'm glad that I did. I'm very glad that I did. I don't regret actually letting somebody cut in front of me. So the bridge program actually, it was a huge help for me because I was able to get classes right away. I didn't have to wait. And one of the people that actually helped me, that created my ed plan, and she said, Sandra, from day one, she was like, okay, what are you going to do? I said, well, I want to major in business. Okay, let's get you started. So this is a breakdown of every class that you have to take. I'm like, oh dear God, I'm never going to get out of here. But because I was so motivated to continue to go to school, you know, I don't care, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the first one in my family to graduate from college. And already I was the first one attending college in my family. So yay for me. And okay, so my classes are going great. And then I said, you know what, Sandra, I want to be a part of the honors program. She said, okay, but you have to meet this requirement. So I go into the honors office. They talk to me, they break it down for me. They said, you have to contain all the information. Okay. A couple months go by, and as I apply, I was like, I'm ready to apply for the honors program. And I was accepted. I received a letter, and I actually I remember, I bought a dog, and her name is Belle. So she decided that she was going to chew on my letter. So my letter has a chew, like a bite, a small bite from my tongue. But it's the acceptance letter, so I was very happy to have it, and I'm saving it. So, in school, I found that I could build so many relationships here. Everybody can relate to so many things. If it's not one thing, it'll be another. Because even though it's a community college, we have people from different backgrounds, from different financial, from different financial backgrounds. A lot of times we can't afford universities, or a lot of times parents say, well, you gotta work your way to school, if you want to earn your degree. And, it's so many stories. So everybody here is working hard. And that is one of the things that I was able to relate to in this school, which I'm grateful for. They have so many resources and actually ideas. I'm sorry, ideas. I spoke with you. And I remember you were always giving me information. I said, look, I don't know any information. And you said, oh, don't worry about it, every time. And aside from all the resources, the relationships that I was able to build into the classes, one of the classes that really stood out to me, well, actually a couple of them, but one of them that really stood out to me most, where I really built a lot of relationships, was my speech class over the summer last year. I decided I'm going to be the trooper and take a speech course over the summer in 6 weeks and take it honors. Who's crazy? So halfway, I wanted to quit. It was really difficult. But I think what really helped me the most was the fact that I built a lot of friendships with people that are in the audience that have not only been there for me, not just then, but even now. They're here and they were at my pageant. Those are the friends that I was always looking for that I could never find. People that actually understood me. And I'm very grateful for you guys. In the speech class, that's when I discovered that I had a talent for speaking. And my teacher, Professor Reinhardt, she said, you have this talent, you should go and speak. I said, I actually took some courses outside of school. I sought out for some self-development courses and neurolinguistics training, which emphasizes and focuses a lot on communications. And that actually helped me out a lot. And the speech class was only like the icing on the cake. It's like, okay, you're going to do that. You need to go and sit in front of a larger audience and be able to face your fears and talk in front of larger people. Larger audience, excuse me. Yes, I'm a little nervous. So I decided, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna be a life coach. I'm gonna be a motivational speaker. That's what I want to do. And I was like, did I just say that? And my friends actually, they helped me a lot, because every time that they needed advice, they'd be like, Betty, what do I do? And while I was sharing my experiences with them, while I was giving them advice in return, I was giving myself that advice. And I remember sharing with them the last day of school. I said, I'm going to do something great. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to speak. I'm going to motivate. I'm going to inspire. I'm just going to do great things. Just you watch. And I said, which brings me to my fork road. And I'm sure that many of you have encountered that fork road. You're like, you have this way, that way, and this way. Which way do I go? And I was attending school. I was working, and I was trying to manage my career as an actress and a model. And I said, okay, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to quit school, but my dream has always been to be a model. So what do? I'm not getting any younger. And I don't want to do Botox. No offense to people that do Botox, but I said, I want to embrace getting older. I want to embrace it. The wisdom with it. So I decided that I was going to put school on hold. I cried. I talked to my counselors. I talked to Sandra. I said, I have to. I feel bad. I feel like a quitter, but I'm not a quitter. And I talked to one of my mentors, and I said, look, I don't know what to do. He said, well, let me ask you a question. If money wasn't the issue, if this was never an issue, what would you do? What would you want to do? And I said, well, I would want to go and live my dream. He said, there you go. You just answered your question. I said, okay. So, but first I had to talk to my counselors and make sure that they understood, hey, look, I'm not quitting. I'm coming back. I will get my degree. But for now, I'm going to put it on hold. That's when the pageant came about, which is my next topic. May last year, I submitted myself to audition for the pageant. I've never been in a pageant. I don't know how to be a pageant girl. So I said, okay, well, how do they act? So I had to learn the walk. I had to learn the talk, their behavior. And I'm like, this is too hard. Why can't I just be me? And I'm like, okay, because me is not that. And if I want to win, I better start acting like a girl. So when I went to audition, I drove 2 hours to the audition. I'm thinking, I'm stuck in traffic. I still got to drive back home to my work, because I was working at El Torito. I don't know if you guys have been here. But I was working at El Torito, so I'm driving stuck in traffic for 2 hours. I get there. There's a lot of girls, a lot of beautiful girls. I'm like, oh, they're so pretty. I hope they are in another country, not Mexico. And they're like, okay, you're next. So I go up the stairs. I'm in front of a couple of judges. And they're like, so tell me about you. Well, my name is Beatriz. I want to be a model. And they're like, stop. I'm like, what? Tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Where do you come from? What do you believe in? What do you want to do? And I said, okay, I can tell you guys who I am. But I hope you don't get scared. So I did. I opened up. I shared a lot about me. And I told them who I was, where I come from, what I believed in, what I wanted to do. And I mean, I love children. I want to work with children. And I don't have any children of my own right now, but maybe in like 10 years. But it pains me to see children suffering. So I got out of there and I walked out and I'm like, I think I said too much. I don't think they're going to want me to represent the crowd. So I'm driving home. I'm like, gosh, I'm stuck in 2 hours again, the traffic. But for some reason, I felt this energy in my body, and I just said, you know what? This is going to be worth it. I have a feeling this is going to be really worth it. So a couple weeks later, I get a call. I missed it. They don't leave a message. Another week goes by, and I'm like, gosh, they haven't called. I try calling back, they don't answer. They call again, I miss again. I'm like, oh God. This time they leave a message, they said to call back. I'm like, well, what is it? Did I win? Did I not win? What am I going to do? And another week goes by, and I have my phone literally next to me in my purse. I'm like, I'm watching it like a hawk looking at its prey. I'm like, I can't keep my eye out of this phone because I gotta answer this call. And I missed it again. I looked away and I was like, oh my gosh, I missed it again. So I go home, bummed out. I'm getting ready to go to work. And I'm getting ready, and then I hear the phone ring. I'm like, okay, maybe that's the call. I just missed it again. I'm like, I gotta call back. Thank God I answered. She answered. Her name is Marie. She was one of the pageant coordinators. She answered the phone, and I'm like, did you call? She says, yes. You missed our call. So I'm like, I know that. But I called you back. She says, well, how are you? I said, well, anxious and nervous because you've been calling me and you don't leave me a message. I don't know what's going on. And she says, well, hold on to your heels. I said, well, I'm not wearing heels, so what do I hold on to? And she said, well, we chose you to represent Mexico. And I was like, what? I was like, what does that mean? They're like, yeah, you're going to be Miss Mexico. You're going to represent your country, and you're going to be doing, charity work and all that stuff. And I was like, okay. It didn't register. Honestly, it didn't sink in. I went to work and I'm thinking, maybe this was a prank. This is not real. I literally did not want to believe it. And so I actually didn't share with anybody. I held it in for a whole month because that's how long it took me to finally accept it. So finally, June, July comes around and I share, of course, on Facebook. I said, I'm really excited to share with you guys that I'm going to be representing my country. And I got a lot of friends that were excited, a lot that just didn't say much. And I realized, okay, this is the first step to something big. I don't know what, but this is the first step. And soon after, I had to raise money. Because I don't know if you guys know, but with pageants, you have to raise your money with sponsors. You have to get sponsors. And I've never asked anybody for money. My mother always taught me never ask for money. She said, if you want money, you work for your money. So I'm thinking, okay, how do I ask for money? Hi, my name is Beatriz, and I'm Miss Mexico. Some people would laugh in my face and be like, yeah, right. So I'm like, okay, so how can I convince somebody what my goals are, what I want to do in life, and have them support me? Because that's one way of support. Writing a check to Queen of the Universe, and that actually is an entrance fee for me to come and be in the pageant as a participant. So I reached out to friends and family first. Most said yes, some said no, and I was okay with it. So here's one of the things that I learned about the pageant, that sometimes no doesn't mean no forever, it just means not now. And so, I learned to ask for money. I learned that too. And I actually, believe it or not, I was actually getting sponsors through customers when I was waiting tables. I'm like, yeah, I'm serving their chips. I'm like, yeah, Miss Mexico. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's Queen of the Universe pageant. Here's a website, take a look at it. I just need some sponsors, but what I want to do is I painted a beautiful picture, and I started to believe it myself. I'm like, yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they're like, okay, so who do we write the check out to? I'm like, really? You want to help me out? And they're like, yeah, we think you're a wonderful person, and we believe in you. So, okay. So I kept getting check after check, and I was close to my final mark, and then one friend, mentor of mine, who I actually invited to come and speak when our speech class ended, and he actually sponsored me with $1,000 because that's how much he believed in me, that he really made me believe in myself a lot. He said, you have a gift, go get it, go do whatever you want. And for me, just to have somebody sign a check for $1,000 and support me and believe in me that much, that just gave me so much more courage and more strength to go and continue and taking on the world. So I'm at the pageant. It's the day of the pageant, March 16th, and we've been through a month of every single day rehearsals. I had to be in heels every single day. I got comfortable, with my tennis shoes, but they said, no, you gotta be poised, you gotta be at your best every single day, because you're gonna have, when we were rehearsing, we were in rooms, there were double-sided mirrors, so you couldn't see them, but they could see you. So I'm like, oh God, I gotta be my best all the time. So I was training at the gym every single day. I was eating, sleeping, and breathing pageant. I never in a million years thought, I'm going to be a pageant girl. I'm going to be doing this. So for that whole month, needless to say that I didn't work. And some might think that's pretty stupid because you need to pay your bills. Yeah, I was behind my bills a lot. But here's another thing that I learned. A lot of times when you want something in life, you have to make sacrifices. And you think, this is not recompense right away, but it doesn't come right away sometimes. Sometimes it takes longer, and that's okay. So if you can see it, if you are able to see the pot of gold at the end of the road, even though there's thunder in front of you and dark clouds, if you can see it, then you can make it. So March 16th, the day of the pageant, I'm standing there and the curtains are down, and I find myself full of emotions. I'm feeling very grateful for a great year of hard work, sweat, taking risks, a lot of dedication, and a lot of support, because That's when I realized who my friends really were. I tell you that it is true. It is in your moments when you are less successful that you will discover who your friends really are. The ones that are there for you when you're down, those are the ones that you want to stick to. You want to stick by. Because they will learn to appreciate all of the greatness in you. Because if they can see it before you were successful, they will be with you. Appreciate those. So I'm standing with the curtains down in my red dress, with my sash on, my hair done, my makeup. And I feel the need to put my hand on my heart and close my eyes, and I pictured myself, the 12-year-old girl. The 12-year-old little girl that wanted to be an actress. The 12-year-old little girl that wanted to be a model. But somehow felt like all these obstacles were holding her back. Money, not having papers, not having the confidence, not having the support, all of those things. I didn't have those. And yet somehow I was standing on stage and I was crying because I finally felt like even though I'm not yet where I want to be, I am so much more closer. And it was a big sense of gratitude that I felt while I was standing out there. And I had already felt like I made it. I'm like, I'm a winner already. I don't care. And some of the girls were like, why are you crying? Leave me alone. I'm being a girl right now. Leave me alone. So the pageant goes on. I didn't win the pageant, but I got top 10, and I won a lot of friendships with the women that were a part of the pageant. I won a lot of confidence. I won a lot of courage. I won so much of me because I didn't know who I was. I suddenly was like, who am I? And this pageant actually somehow helped me find myself. As crazy as it may seem or sound, you think a pageant, oh, just girls. But no, it's not just the pageant, because I used to think like that about pageants, but it's more than just, the glitz, the glamour, the heels, the pretty hair, the pretty posture and all that stuff. There's a lot that goes behind it. It takes a lot of courage to stand up there in front of 2,500 people and have somebody ask you a question, which, by the way, Lance Bass was my judge. You know what his question was? At first, his silly question, he said, quick question, Backstreet Boys or NSYNC? And I'm like, well, that's easy. NSYNC. I'm like, wait, he was with NSYNC, right? I thought, okay, in my pocket. No. So, the question was, why did you join the pageant? And the pageant was actually a charity-based pageant. That was why I joined the pageant, because it was a charity-based pageant. I thought, I've always wanted to work with people. I've always wanted to do charity work. Here's a great opportunity for me to get started. So I answered to the best of my truthful self, if that makes sense. To yourself, when you believe in what you're saying, it just flows out. So I didn't have to lie. I didn't feel like I had to make up anything. So maybe that's why my answer was just like, that's why. But like I said, the Miss USA actually won, which I know everybody was like, what? She was the girl that was always in the back. She never actually was like showing off, nothing. She was the girl in the back. And I'm so grateful that she won. She's a beautiful girl. She's still very young, but she's wonderful. So after the pageant ends, I'm saying hi to everybody, thanking everybody for coming, taking pictures. And as I'm walking out, a camera guy says, hey, I'd like to interview you. I'm like, okay, sure. And he says, well, how was the pageant? How was your experience? And that's when, I don't know if you guys saw the video, I shared my experience. I said, it was wonderful. And apparently they used it for other reasons. But I funny thing is, I'm like, well, can I have your business card? Because that's what you do. You take pictures out there, photographers, you ask for a business card because you want to know where your picture's going or your video. And he says, oh, it's in my car. I'm going to go get it. Okay. He leaves, he never comes back. I forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I never thought TMZ, why would TMZ interview me? I'm nobody. And a couple days go by, and I'm thinking, wow, this was very exciting. A whole year of preparing for something so big, and now it's over. It's like getting off of a crazy train and coming to a halt, like 100% stop. And thinking, I didn't work for a month. I'm behind my bills. How am I going to pay for everything? And I realized later that it was another lesson for me to learn. It was obviously something that I enjoyed. It was obviously something that helped me grow. It was a wonderful experience. I'm a better person because of it. So I don't regret not having worked for a month and staying behind on my bills for that 1 month. I don't. And some people think you're crazy. I am. So with the pageant, I've been able to work with a couple of charities of my own that I selected. Make-A-Wish Foundation, I'm sure you guys have heard of it. Make-A-Wish Foundation is something that I decided to work alongside with because I actually had a nephew who, at the age of 9 months old, it's going to be 6 years this year, he was diagnosed with a tumor in his brain when he was 9 months, and it was in and out of the hospital, chemotherapy. He could never actually eat solid food. Everything was, liquid. And it was really, really hard for me to see him die so young. He was 4 years old. He didn't make it. So that was really hard for the family. And then I also work with LA's Best. LA's Best is it's a charity program that works to provide after-school programs for children that are less fortunate. Now again, I can relate to that because I was a kid, and what kept me out of trouble, or what bad influences, was just staying involved in after-school sports and all those things. In LA, I know that a lot of the districts, they struggle to provide those kind of resources for the children, and I think it's very important to teach them at a very, very young age. And I thought, okay, well, I would like to mentor, I would like to be a role model for the children and let them know that it's okay. Sometimes we don't, we're not brought into a family that's wealthy or, with all the resources, and think that, we're left out, we're poor, but it's okay. And even if you're undocumented, it's okay. Nothing should ever stop you. If you want something, just go out and get it. And that's something that I actually want to teach, which brings me to share with you guys a little bit about what I'm doing right now, working with the charities. With the pageant, actually, I started going to the Children's Hospital Los Angeles. And you know what, this is a great opportunity for me to share too. We visit the children, and it's by permit only. You can't just go in there and visit the children that are in intensive care. These are children that are struggling to survive sometimes. And it breaks my heart to see a 2-year-old little girl. Her hair is falling out. She's connected to all these machines. Like it's not her fault. And it just makes you appreciate life a lot more and realize that sometimes we have certain obstacles or challenges in our lives, and just by looking at a child that is sick internally, and just to see them smile and be strong, that makes me strong. And that's why I do it. I decided that I want to travel the world speaking. And some people think of public speaking as, well, what kind of career is that? That's not a career. But to me, it's more than just a career. For me, it's a passion. It's what drives me. It's what makes me happy. To be able to stand here and be the voice of a lot of people and share my story and be of some sort of inspiration to anybody and, you know, motivate them and encourage them and say, you know what, because of you I didn't give up. And I'm sure you've heard of that. You've heard of that before. And I continue to learn neurolinguistics. I was just recently, this last week, and I was certified as a motivational coach. It's a course that I take on outside of my own. If any of you guys are actually, you know, interested in doing any outside self-development courses, I think it's one of the best investments. I said one of the best because coming to school is one of the most important investments that we can actually make for ourselves. So, if you guys are interested, I'm more than welcome to give you guys any information as to how I actually, became who I am now and where I'm at, and I'm able to communicate a lot better because of it. So, but I want to get back to the Children's Hospital Los Angeles. I know the gentleman that's in charge of the blood drive there, and I want to use my title as Miss Mexico to hold a blood drive at the hospital. They're in really high demand, high need of people that do the, my mic just went away. Platelets, but also that other plasmas, yes, also those. The one where they stick the needle in the back of your
Bone marrow.
bone marrow.
Bone marrow.
You're always saying it, and then that day you want to say it. They're in high demand of bone marrow. Not a lot of people are willing to donate because a lot of times they don't have matches, and there's a lot of children that are not making it because of it. So I'm gonna, when the event takes place, if you guys are willing to help us out, I would love to extend an invite for you guys to come out, and even if you're just are able to share your blood with a child or somebody that needs your blood type, and you are eligible to donate, we would appreciate it a lot. So that's one of the things that I'm actually trying to coordinate right now as Miss Mexico, because it's not just the title, it actually, there's a lot of advantages, and you can either use it to, it's like a scalpel, you can use it to heal, or you can use it to cause damage, and I'd rather use it to help others, and not just spotlight for myself. I mean, I can stand here, but it doesn't matter. That's pretty much it. That pretty much sums everything out. I enjoy, for some reason, when I get dressed, I know a lot of people that feel like, what is the fashion, what is the trend? Am I in style or out of style? And I always say, just wear what you feel like wearing. And if it doesn't, match what everybody else is wearing, good. Because you don't want to fit in with everybody else. You don't want to match. We were meant to be different. So I shared with you guys, a little bit about myself, my background, who I am, and what makes me. Shared with you guys my experience here at Mt.SAC, and what a wonderful experience. I truly, and I'm not saying this just because, but I truly did enjoy my time here at Mt.SAC, and the people that helped me get to the next level every single time. The resources, the prices. Seriously, I came when it was $25 a unit, so that was really cheap. I had to pay for my classes, so that really, really helped me out a lot. The pageant, wonderful experience. And my ultimate goal in life really is to motivate and continue to travel the world, and hopefully my country next, and breaking barriers and proving that anything is possible. But what I want you guys to know is that we were not meant to fit in. We were created to stand out, but for some reason, we feel like we need to fit in with everybody else. Well, what's going on? I need to follow that trend. Why? Why would you want to dim a light on a ray of sunshine? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to blow out a candle? I don't understand. So, if you ever feel like you are left out, or if you feel like you don't fit in, take it as a sign to do something great in life. And everything that you go through, don't think of it as, why me? Just say thank you. What am I to learn from this? Accept it and move forward with it. Run with it. Face it like a bull, and just say, here I am. What do you have for me? That'll make it a lot easier for you guys, I promise. And Maya Angelou, again, I love all her quotes, but one of the things that, one of her quotes that actually I absolutely love, that I live by, she said, if you don't like something, then you change it. And if you can't change it, you gotta change your attitude. Thank you guys. A couple of people, if you guys have any Q&A in regards to Dream Act or anything else. Okay? Now down here if you guys have any questions. Okay, I'll stay up here.
Hi everyone, if you guys have any questions you would like to direct to Beatriz, she will be here to answer them. If you have any questions regarding immigration issues, whether it be student or family related, John and I, my name is Jessica, will be sitting on the table to answer those questions. Are there any questions?
What is your documentation status now, or is there progress in that department?
Yes, I actually was one of the lucky ones that was able to apply for the Deferred Act. So I'm what they'd say, sort of documented. Yes.
What are the choices when it comes to health insurance for an undocumented person?
Right now, an undocumented person cannot apply for health insurance. Obamacare does not cover undocumented people, only documented people. However, there is a bill that's trying to get passed in California, just California alone, it's not federal, that would extend coverage to undocumented people. This is beneficiary, of course, for a lot of us that are undocumented that don't go to the doctor because, it's expensive, we pay for it, and also if you want to talk about the market, when you have more people, when you have higher demand, you actually decrease the prices for everyone else in terms of health insurance.
How do people with background reapply for stuff anymore? Is there anything like going on? I guess I already know.
So in terms of reapplying for DACA, we're suggesting that anyone who is looking to renew DACA to send in their paperwork 3 months before your expiration. So say you applied last year in 2 years ago in August, we say start gathering your information now. Everything's the same. You go on the USCIS page, and it says all the requirements, which is pretty much everything that you did last time. So if you saved your package, I would just resend that with any new information, like if you stayed in school or if you got a job. But it's pretty much the same requirements as it was last time.
Are you gonna continue your pageant career or your educational career?
I don't think I want to do any more pageants. Pageants are not for me. I love them. No, I'm not going to continue doing any more pageants. I'm just going to continue with my year as Miss Mexico, because we get a year. I will continue my education, both in school, academically, and outside of school, because I think it's also very important that we self-educate ourselves. Aside from school, like I said to you, I decided to seek out mentors and life coaches, and I started to learn neurolinguistics on my own to just communicate better. So.
Can you travel outside the country?
According to the Deferred Act and the information that I was given by my lawyer, I am able to leave, but only under certain regulations, like if it's school related, if it's related to work, if it's an emergency, but they have to approve it.
Just to go off on that, that's actually called advanced parole, and any DACA recipient can apply for it. However, the cost to apply costs $485, I believe. So it is a pricey application. However, if anyone out there is documented and is considering doing advanced parole, I highly encourage that you do, because as far as I'm concerned, I haven't heard of anyone that has been rejected by it if you have a good case. So humanitarian reasons, such as like have a sick grandmother, like to go visit her. If you have the medical forms, you can do that. You can study abroad. Or if it's work-related issues, maybe your job requires you to be abroad for a little while. So that's what we just have to provide the evidence. And as far as I'm concerned, if you have the evidence, you will be able to, again, just a barrier in that is financing.
Sponsor.
When you represented Mexico as your country, as my country, do you feel that you have ties with both Mexico and the United States?
But, especially with the pageant, it taught me to embrace my culture so much. And my boyfriend actually, he's like, I love Mexican food. I'm like, great. So I love being Mexican. I love the culture. I love my family. And I believe, that we should really stay true to our roots. And that's it.
What part of Mexico do you come from? Like what state?
Jalisco.
Guadalajara?
Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Are you also Miss Jalisco or just Miss Mexico? Like, do you also apply for Miss Jalisco or just Miss Mexico?
No, I have had offers to continue to participate and compete. That's not something that I actually am passionate about, and I don't like to do things just because somebody else is like, hey, I think you'd be great for this. And if my heart's not in it, I don't do it. So.
How much influence has your mother had on your career and your drive? Because you mentioned that she came here to work. So how has she influenced you?
My mother was a single parent, and she raised four children on her own. And she taught me that if we are to work hard and continue to believe in ourselves, in anything that we believe in, we can accomplish anything. But the thing that really I admire about my mom is her hard work ethics. She was always working. She was very prideful and very, hardcore Mexican mother. she can cook amazing, by the way. She taught me how to cook. She always said to me, if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. Otherwise, don't bother to do anything at all. So that stayed with me. A lot of times when I felt like I didn't want to do anything, I was like, I just wanted to half do it, for lack of better terms. But I did it, and I was like, you know what, she's right. If I'm going to do anything, I gotta do it 100%. Otherwise, why bother? So yeah, she's had a lot of influence in the way that I go about some things in my life.
How did you get involved with ideas in Mount.SAC?
We're nearing the end of the semester. However, we have one more meeting this Wednesday.
Yeah, we have this meeting on Wednesday. We meet in building 26.
2431.
24 at 3 o'clock. And if you want, we're having a public too that day. Well, yeah, it's on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So 3 to 5 is the
What is the room number again?
2431.
24.
Building 26B.
Go.
If anyone is interested, if you want to leave your email address or phone number with any of the members or advisors here, we can add you to our mailing list as well.
If you guys are too shy to ask me any questions, please feel free to ask me anything you want. One-on-one, I'm more than, glad to answer any questions or to talk to you.
Yeah, hi. I'm just curious if you made any statement in regard to TMZ. Did you read a reaction, read a letter, issued a statement or anything like that?
I actually, Mundo Fox, a TV station, reached out to me and they asked me to interview. Being that it's the first time that I'm exposed like this, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to make a wrong move. So when they asked me to come interview, I went in and I answered to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my ability, as sincere as possible, and kept it as PG as possible. But I was on, I believe it's channel 22, where Mundo Fox is. It aired, actually. I said, Mom, put it on, because I'm going to be on. But yeah, I did. I was really, really offended by it. But at the same time, I'm so glad that they did, because had it not been for them, we wouldn't be, shining light on the community college students. We're a big part. Yes, you know what? I actually thank you for reminding me. I failed to thank you guys. Everybody that was behind me, that wrote letters, that sent him messages, that tweeted him. Thank you guys so much for standing behind me and supporting me and just being that voice of so many people, because I think that one can make a lot of damage, but with so many together, we can take over the world. So thank you guys so much.
Do you have plans on coming back to Mt.SAC?
You know what? I just recently moved to Westwood. It's a little bit far. And you know what? My heart is really to come back and finish here. However, I mean, this is always going to be my school. No matter what,
Right.
I'm always a Mountie. Ultimately, like I said, I do want to finish my degree in business and in communications. I actually want to do a minor in communications, or vice versa. I might just do it out there in UCLA, you know, since I'm right next to it. So.
Hello.
Get fancy.
I just want to say one thing. I had taken, I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional, but I had taken a speech class with you, and the first day you said that you wanted to be a speaker, and here you are. Yeah.
I'm sorry for my English.
It's okay.
If I have a friend that without paper and want to come to Mt.SAC, how could that person come to school and then wait? Because to me, I feel like they ask for a lot of documents like social security number. You have to have an ID, otherwise you don't pass the process. So how can my friend come and achieve what her dream?
Well, if your friend attended a high school in California for 3 years and graduated either with a high school diploma or a GED, they fall under what we call AB 540, which is a bill that would allow her and any student who meets that criteria to pay in-state tuition. And with qualifying for that, you qualify for state financial aid such as the bond waiver, which would pay your tuition. If she does not fall under that criteria, it might be a little more difficult. However, there's always ways to try to finance someone's education. Someone I really, really recommend that they talk to is Omar Rodriguez. He's such a great help to IUs.
There's different methods when it comes to admission entrance to the college. Having a social security number is not a requirement to apply for admissions. That's a notion for a lot of students, but it's not required. And then when a student applies, there can be different categories, which is a visa, student visa, or different methods. The monetary payments, of course, will be increasing, right, depending on the status. So definitely, let's go ahead and I'll help you with that. I'll take a look at that and see what the best could be.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that you want to finish your degree in business and you want to start your own business. Can you tell us a little bit about your future dreams with respect to your future business?
Yes. Like I mentioned to you guys, I love the idea of dressing however you want. So for some reason, like fashion, it's not something that I follow by no means, but I do like the idea of wearing something nice and appreciating nice clothes. Cheap clothes, it doesn't matter how much you pay for it, it's still clothes, in my opinion. So if I can create a certain fashion line for women of all kinds, shapes and sizes, I mean, if I can run a business like that, that would be great for me because then I'm still in the industry, in the entertainment industry, and at the same time, I'm helping a lot of women, look beautiful, more beautiful. So with regards to your question, that would be a matter of, again, learning the business academic part of building my business. So, and I think that there's a lot of things that life doesn't really teach you. You kind of have to learn, at school. So, yeah. Thank you.
I know that with our Speech 1A class, it did great things for all of us. And I remember, hope you don't mind me sharing this, I remember like you were moving on, you were taking your math classes, and you got onto the forensics team, but obviously your life was going a different way, on a different path. What's your advice to students who feel like they're in this mindset of they need to do this, this, and this in order to be successful? And how do you deal with your path, shifting and moving into a different direction? Like, what's your advice for people who feel that they need to follow this straightforward path and they're not open to things coming their way, and they're not open to new things that kind of disrupt their path in a way, if that makes sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Well, the way that I dealt with it, I fought it because, like I said, I didn't want to leave school. I didn't want to drop my classes because I didn't want to have a W or an F on my transcripts. I was caring about what others were going to think. I started to tell myself that I was a quitter. I started to doubt myself. I started to feel bad. But most of all, I cried a lot. Yes, I cried. Because as much as I knew that I didn't want to be in school, I always tend to follow my heart. And I was fighting it a lot. When I say fighting, my heart was telling me to go this way, but my mind was doing a lot of chatter, and it was pulling me that way. So it's like two magnets, So I had to consult one of my mentors. I didn't just go to the girl next door. I needed to make sure that I asked the right people. So I met up with my mentor. I asked, for any advice. I sought, some help with the counselors. I said, look, this is what I want to do. And that made me reassure that I wasn't, forgetting about education. I wasn't forgetting about what my intentions were in life. I was just needing a break in order to move forward in another aspect of my life, which is, in modeling and acting. And dealing with the pageant, it takes a lot of work. And if I don't like to just do one thing here, one thing there. I don't give it all my all. And if I can't give it my all, and if I can't focus, it's not going to come out 100%. So they always say to focus 100% on just one thing. When I was going to school before any of this, I was going to school and I was doing awesome. It was just school and work and school and work, and I was doing amazing. That's why I got into the honors program. But then this dream of mine just suddenly started to appear. This started to trigger this passion, this drive, and I decided, you know what? I'm not getting any younger. And now I have another decision. Which decision do I take? I started to measure a lot of things that were logical sense, some that were more emotional sense, and just having a talk with myself. What do I really want? In the end, if I were to die next week, would I die happy? Did I make the decisions that made me happy? Not what made anybody else happy. Because that W, who cares? I got a W. I withdrew. I stopped coming to school. So what? I don't owe anybody an explanation but myself. And if I know in my heart that education is important to me, and I come back whenever I'm ready, that's all that matters. I'm doing what I love, and for that I'm a better person, and I'm able to give a better me to others. So, yeah.
What you said earlier kind of resonated with me about your early on kind of almost like identity crisis and not really accepting yourself. What was the turning point in which you started to accept your cultural background? Like what changed in your life?
Well, like I mentioned to you, I decided to seek some help from a mentor, from a life coach. I needed a life coach. So I saw a friend that was doing public speaking, and I thought, well, that's interesting, the way that you are able to set so much rapport in front of people and are able to, you know, to make them feel warm. Like, I like that idea. And so confident. But confidence doesn't just come, you know, from one day to another. It takes time to build. And so I decided to take a self-development course, which allowed me to look at things differently. I started to see things that I didn't want to see. And I say don't want to see because I was almost living in denial. You know, I don't want to accept the fact that I'm an immigrant. I don't want to accept the fact that I have all these obstacles to face. I don't want to accept the fact that I still have a little life ahead of me and that I still have a lot of work to get done. I was in denial. So with the self-development course that I took, I started to grow as a person. I started to see things. I started what they call now enlightenment. And that made me realize, like, what the heck am I doing? I was trying this whole time to fit in with everybody else. And nobody wanted to, you know, accept me in my group. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? So that was one of the first steps. The second step that actually did it for me, a little over a year ago, I made a decision to pursue my career 110%, no strings attached, head on. I literally said, dear God, I'm jumping, you better catch me. Meaning, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make it. You know, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. And it took a lot of courage, a lot of getting to know myself, a lot of spending time by myself, a lot of educating myself, a lot of reading. Self-time really did it for me, getting to know myself, who I really am, because I wanted to know, of course, you know, who am I? What am I about? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Why am I on this earth? For what? And I used to go for, I'm crazy, yes, 5-hour hikes. And no phone, nothing, just me and the openness of the hills. And that actually almost forces you to go within. And it makes you realize a lot of things. It makes you see things that you didn't want to see. I started to think about my past. I started to think about what made me sad. I started to think about what made me happy. And then all of a sudden, I feel like I'm gaining this identity. And being humble enough to ask for help and realizing that if you put others first and you second, you are literally, unconsciously just, you're coming first because you're putting others first. Everybody's like, thank you, and you don't realize it. So, with the pageant, like I said, it taught me a lot of strengths that I didn't know that I had, facing a lot of fears, because we have a lot of fears, and I could never stand up here and talk to you. So that definitely was another big step into helping me discover that Mexico is my root. That's where I come from. No matter whether I say that I'm not there, I'm still from there. Doesn't matter. I can lie to you and tell you that I'm from Colombia or from El Salvador because I don't want to accept it. But it doesn't change anything. I'm still me. I'm still that. If it's okay. Everybody's different. Everybody's meant to be different.
Are there any other questions for Beatriz?
All for them. guys have any questions, legal matter questions? These guys know it. Don't be shy. I don't know them. They're actually doing the research for you guys, so if you guys have any questions, pick at their brain. It's okay. I'm sure they're willing to let you.
What I heard in the news about the license that undocumented can get the DP, which is driving privilege, and then the federal government said like, hold on, California, like there's like something wrong with your program. Is it still going to be passed, or like what's the update on that? Like, is California going to go still for it without like whatever the federal government says? And, like I don't know, I just heard that California passed it, and then the federal government said like let's check this, what you do.
What happened, the bill that you're referring to is called AB 60, which is the National Student Driver's License Bill, which would allow undocumented people outside of DACA, because DACA recipients can actually get a legit driver's license. So anyone that's excluded from DACA can now get this driver's permit that it's called. It would be like a driver's license, however, it wouldn't serve as a form of identification in the state, so it's not like you can use it for any kind of state benefits or federal benefits. What ended up happening was California is not the only state that offers driver's license / permits to undocumented people, but the bill was written in a way where the driver's permit would look very much like the driver's license. So, I don't actually have a driver's license to show you guys, but there's a small little number on the corner of your driver's license that says DL and then like a bunch of numbers, and the DL stands for driver's license. According to, in AB 60, it was written that it would just put DP. So it's very, very, very alike to the driver's license. And what happened was that there were people that said, this is very conspicuous. How are we going to know which is which? They're so alike. And so what ended up happening was that they repealed this design, and they're looking to make it more obvious that it's not the driver's license. So we don't really know what's going to happen with that, but they want to make it, like, I know one of the states, I can't remember which state it is, they have a yellow brand right across it, a huge highlighter across the card that says permit only. And, you know, a lot of immigrant applicants really, really disagree with this because it puts us at risk of being discriminated against. It's a little bit reminiscent of times in history where certain groups were supposed to wear brandings to kind of identify themselves from. So the immigrant community is working hard to find it. You know, well, what we want is for everyone to have a driver's license, not just a permit. But it's definitely a setback that applicants are looking to conquer and overcome.
And my follow-up question, would that also apply? I heard in the news that the like lawyers and doctors and chemists, like the different professions that are undocumented, they can now apply for professional license. Is that sort of the same thing like a driving license?
No, that's not the same thing as a driver's license. That's a professional permit. I did hear about that as well. You're gonna have to brief me on this one. I'm not sure if it was a bill that was presented in the Senate or Assembly, or if it actually passed. I don't believe that it passed. I could be wrong, but there is something in the Assembly or Senate that does seek to extend these professional licenses to in the state of California. So California is very progressive in trying to extend their benefits to undocumented people.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
if I felt like I wasn't ready, but I wanted to do it, I would ask for ways to prepare, to get ready for it. But if really, if you feel like that's not something that you want to do and you feel like it'll take you longer, then maybe I would suggest, holding off on it, but just really asking yourself, what is it you think that you can learn? You get ready for it quick and you want this and you want to do it, then, go for it. But if you feel like you need more time, then maybe, if you feel that's best for you to hold off, then, really it's how you feel. Does that help? Okay. I don't want to give you the wrong advice.
Is there any other questions?
If there are no more questions, I'd like to invite one of our co-chairs from Ideas to come up and speak. And the English escapes me sometimes, para despedirnos. So, this is